There's a story this morning in the Washington Post that questions whether or not you've been moderating some of your stances in order to potentially prepare yourself for a broad audience if you do decide to head in there in 2016. And one of the things that it talks about is your stance on ISIS, that a few months back you said that you didn't really see the American interests that were at stake, and that now you've been supporting the idea of airstrikes. Where do you stand this morning, given this more horrific news that we got over the weekend?
Well, I've consistently said ever since I got in public life that when we do decide to go to war, there should be a vote in Congress. And so I'm still exactly where I've always been on that. When you get to Congress, then there's a debate. Is it in America's interest? And that does change depending on the facts. And so 5 years ago, I didn't think ISIS was a real threat to us, but I didn't want to arm them. That's where I disagree with some Republicans, also Hillary Clinton, and also President Obama, is we never should have sent arms into Syria because that allowed ISIS to grow stronger. But now I think, I'm like many Americans, I am very affected and somewhat emotional about the fact that they're killing our journalists. And I think it's going to backfire on them because I think you're now going to see the civilized world come in a united fashion after them, and I think they'll have no place to hide.
We heard from General Hayden over the weekend and your colleague Lindsey Graham both saying that there is no way that this can be done without a larger presence of at least special forces on the ground to back up whoever might end up coming in to help us. And there's a lot of questions about that as well. What's your take on that?
You know, I tend to disagree. I think the first 10,000 soldiers marching into battle need to be from Iraq, live in Iraq, and they need to be fighting for their homeland. The second 10,000 need to be from Saudi Arabia because, frankly, Saudi Arabia has been aiding and abetting this by really for decades funding radical Islam, and many say that many of the arms that Saudi Arabia has been funneling into Syria have gone into supporting ISIS. So Saudi Arabia needs to step up, Iraq needs to step up, Turkey needs to step up. There's nobody in the surrounding region that says they're in favor of ISIS now. They need to step up and put their soldiers and their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with that. We just spoke to KT McFarland, who certainly agrees with that. If a vote were to come to Congress to ask you to go to war against ISIS and to call it that, would you vote yes?
Yes, but I would try to sunset the provision. I've been upset that we voted 15 years ago and people are still using a vote from 15 years ago. So I think really if we authorize force or declare war, it should sunset at the end of the year and we should debate again, because I don't like the idea that one generation can vote to bind another generation to war forever. I do favor doing something about ISIS. I would vote yes, but I would vote to limit the declaration or limit the authorization to a time period.
Understood. And when do you expect that you will announce whether or not you will run?
We're looking towards the spring at making a final decision.
All right. We'll look forward to that. Senator, thank you very much. Good to see you as always.
Thank you.
Hear the wind stop blowing, see the holes in the gun.